Hello. Right, this is the session on religion and peace, and we have several very distinguished speakers here. May I call upon my old friend Kancha Alaya to make his presentation. Alaya is the Director, Center for the Study of Social Exclusion and Inclusive Policy, Maulana Azad, National Urdu University, Hyderabad.
Let me at the outset thank the National Law University and particularly my friend Faizan Saab to have invited me here. Now, the question of religion and peace, I will try to look at putting the subcontinental situation in centrality, particularly India, but the rest of the subcontinental locations. Now, if you look at the brochure, what they said about me recently, I had to add the name Shepherd to my existing name in order to overcome a process of day-to-day violence of certain organizations against me personally and my community and the communities like me, adding the word shepherd to my name. And I added in English, not in Sanskrit, not in Telugu, quite deliberately, because there is an amount of violence that went into the history of the masses for centuries in this part of the country, both as a civil societal practice, and I see religion as part of civil society in the global context also. Of course, there are certain locations, certain nations where religion is part of the state. But by and large, after the democratic structures emerged in the major parts of the world, religion certainly remains as a major structure of civil society. Now, if you look at the history of 2,600 years, the oldest religion of the world, in my view, is Buddhism, as could be defined as religion in whatever definitional form possible, that was born in this land in some part around Himalayas, and then came Christianity, then came Islam as religion. Now, as Meera was pointing out, that Hinduism is also seen as religion. With the recent Supreme Court judgment, earlier they were trying to escape that no, Hinduism is a way of life, it is not a religion. Justice Verma has given them a lot of certification to do whatever they wanted in that mode, but the seven-man judgment has also put Hinduism in religion, vis-a-vis elections and so on. Now, if you look at the civil societal violence on the vast number of people in history, that happens to be surviving in this area. More than 85% of the masses have to live a constant life in the face of violence. And that violence, of course, the West did not recognize that as violence. West, by and large, recognized certain, crusades, or later on the Christian Islamic struggle. Now the terrorism and the related violence. But look at the masses in subcontinent were not allowed to have the right to religion when they wanted to be through the systematic means of divine violence. And this violence on day-to-day basis, hourly basis, has rendered, as of now, about 180 million people untouchables. They can't even claim the right to religion, though others describe them as they want. When they wanted, they described them as Hindus, they described them as Sudras, Adals, whatever. And having come from a shepherd background, even my generations suffered this violence through two counts. One, we were not supposed to learn the divine language that they constructed as divine, Sanskrit. We were not supposed to take the names also. And those of you who read my book, Why I Am Not a Hindu, know that it is in this religion called Hinduism, the divine construction is through the means of violence. There is no question of conflict resolution through peace, because gods themselves wield weapons. There is no other religion where the notion of God, the abstract God or even the imaginary God, has weaponry resolution of violence. And we face that. If you look at, by early 11th century when Al-Biruni came to India, when he described the Sindh region as Hind region and described them as Hindus, he included Afghanistan. There was no Islam at that time there. Pakistan, Bangladesh, and the rest of India that we are living today. And all of it was, in present-day language, former Hindu. Afghanistan was former Hindu, Pakistan was former Hindu, Bangladesh was former Hindu. And if you look at the whole notion of West or East, the source of violence in the world, they see the source of violence as Afghanistan, Pakistan, Bangladesh, whether it is Islamic or non-Islamic. It is, terrorism is said to have been born here. But there is a fundamental question. Before democracy came here, the entire struggle of these masses in all these regions was to become part of religion, to convert into something which gives them the right to religion, the right to read the book, the right to approach the God, the right to go to the religious space. And over a period of time, the whole of Afghanistan is untouchables, Shudras, backward classes what we call, and the rest of the Sudras except Brahmins and Banyas and Kshatriyas have gone into Islam, the conversion process. In Afghanistan, in Pakistan, in Bangladesh, and in Kashmir in the recent past. The Pandits have come out, the rest have become Muslims there. Now this process of conversion was one of the most violent thing in this part of the world. This is not mere violence of Israel and Palestine. It's much more. Millions have been killed. They did not allow our people to either convert or in the process of conversion they were attacked. And the way violence has arose in Afghanistan, present Pakistan, Bangladesh regions is, after these masses got converted, they got emboldened, having got out of the caste, and they resorted to counter-violence. Now this counter-violence is seen as the most brutal violence in the world today. Now I see that nobody can justify violence. But what do you do in a nation where people work out religious structures, keep violent figures as divine figures, and masses were not allowed to equality, and masses produced food? When I am near Kancha Ilaya, I am useless. I don't know, the world doesn't know what my occupational roots were. They were saying that these are all useless, meritless, baseless, not even livable characters in this land. Now therefore when I added shepherd, they say, look, there is a sign of Christianity in his name. So a shepherd is a Christian. The same Hindutva forces, the same Brahminic forces. So the issue has been, this is the land again, is now feared as a place of convertibility and violence. Not many do not know that Indian government after independence did not allow the religious ambassadors of any other country here. American religion ambassador was never allowed. Mission visas were never given. But those countries were giving visas to all these people to export idol gods also. Even the acharyas get visas, mission visas they get, whether it is America, whether it is Europe. But here, they think that there is a possibility of Dalits getting converted into Christianity. Earlier they got converted into Islam. Therefore 3 nations were born. Now there is a possibility of converting into Christianity. And they see that we getting English education here, it is seen as a way to Christianity. Their learning English is not a way to Christianity. The private schools, the best schools, they keep in private. The government school, the state schools, they keep in regional languages. The moment SC, ST, OBCs of India demand for English education, look, they are trying to go into Christianity. So we were not supposed to learn their God's language. And we are defined as Hindus again. The same Vishwa Hindu Parishad defines all of us Hindus. Now this created the amount of violence that no human being in the world, even Holocaust, is not equivalent. Imagine, by day-to-day violence, verbal violence, spiritual violence, social violence, you could keep 180 million people even today untouchables. Constitution did not abolish caste. Constitution only abolished notionally untouchability, not caste. The Supreme Court today says, 7-man bench, that we are not supposed to use caste as a mobilizing source in the election. But Supreme Court does not say, go and abolish caste in the Constitution. They keep a totally barbaric, inhuman system intact. From writing of Rig Veda, the early text to present. And they say that God in India is national. God in India is not universal. The Hindu gods are not universal. And they created human beings for perpetual inequality. The Brahmins are created from God's head. Kshatriyas, the rulers, from shoulders. The Vaishyas, Gandhi and Lohias, caste were created from thighs. And we were all created from feet. And we were not supposed to go towards the head at all. When we read other religious books where they say that God created all human beings equal, then we are anti-nationals. Tell me, if I read a book which says God created all human beings equal, and I would like to work towards that equality, if the ruling dispensation says that I am anti-national, what more violence you need? Is there any system in the world? Whether it is today in China, the right to religion is much more respected. Equality. that you can embrace any religion you like and you can become the topmost in that, but in this religion they define Hinduism as my religion, I can't become a priest, leave alone head priest. See, after I wrote Why I Am Not a Hindu, one day one right-wing fundamentalist called me, "Are a bloody rascal, why are you writing such books? What do you want? You are a teacher in a university." I said, "No, I don't want this job. I want to become a priest in Tirupati temple, head priest. Because that is the place where a lot of money comes. Even after demonetization, everybody took a lot of old notes and put there with God. Those gods take bank notes also. And they legitimize bank notes. I wanted to become a priest. Then he asked me, "You fool, you know Sanskrit?" I said, "Does God know only Sanskrit? If God created all languages, He should understand all languages. How did you construct a God who understands only one language? In my village, my Pochamma goddess understands Telugu, Tamil, Malayalam, every language. English also. But your gods don't understand, because for me, this is the most worst violence in the world. Now 850 million people, the backward classes, the Dalits, OBCs, do not have the right to religion because we can't read the scripture in the spiritual place. We are defined as Hindus. This world doesn't understand. If there is no counter-violence, if people suffer slavery, imagine in the Greek area, people were suffering without any civil wars. Was it good? We suffer like that. We are suffering it. And people, intellectuals, want us to suffer more. Don't resort to any counter-violence. Don't go to any other religion. You are not supposed to even go to any other religion and claim equality. Now, this is the crux of the issue. If there is a terrorism in any part, and if this subcontinent was becoming that, there are ways in which the violence gets escalated. But Ambedkar chose to Buddhism, which never used violence again. He never used a weapon in his hand. And most of his followers now are non-violent. But those who use violence in everyday ways claim that they are peaceful people. And we are supposed to listen to that. The world agrees, even the Muslim scholars agree with them, Christian scholars agree with them, Western scholars agree with them that this is the most non-violent religion. Okay, there is untouchability, there is backwardness, they don't get rights, they don't have educational rights, reservation is absolutely for people who don't have brains at all. Now this is the most barbaric violence that this nation lived forever. And we don't want to live in that. So therefore, the change is needed. And the universities have to play